They fined me $350 for parking my own fishing boat in my own damn driveway. Then, that power-hungry HOA president, Karen Whitman, decided to ban me from the lake entirely. She formed her own exclusive fishing club, locked the boat ramp, and told everyone I wasn't welcome anymore. She thought that would break me. She had no idea I was about to buy the lake right out from under her. The lake had always been my sanctuary. My late wife, Sarah, picked this house because it sat on a gentle slope down to the water. The boat wasn't fancy, just a 14-foot aluminum hull with a tired old motor, but it was ours. I taught my daughter Lily to fish from that boat. We laughed out there even after Sarah passed. That morning, the air was cold, the water glass still, and I was hauling the boat out for its annual maintenance when I saw the envelope taped to my door. Final notice. Unpaid HOA fees. Watercraft. I stood there in my grease-stained jeans rereading it 3 times. They were charging me a fee for owning a boat, on my own property, signed by Karen Whitman herself. Martha, my wife, now sighed when I showed her the letter. "Jack, just pay it," she said. "It's not worth it." But it was worth it to me. This wasn't about money, it was about control. I checked the HOA bylaws. Nothing, not one word about watercraft. I decided to talk to her directly, thinking maybe it was a misunderstanding. The next morning, I walked into the community clubhouse. Karen was sitting behind a folding table like a prison warden, neat stacks of paper in front of her glasses perched on her nose. Beside her sat Linda Park, her loyal little echo. I set the fine on the table and said calmly, "There's been a mistake. There's no rule about boat fees." She didn't even look up. "The board has broad authority to levy charges for community aesthetics," she said in that sugary poison voice. "Your vessel," she actually sneered at the word, "is a concern." Linda nodded like a bobblehead. "It's visible from the street, and we've had reports of oil leakage," she added. My jaw clenched. That was a flat-out lie. My boat didn't leak a drop. Karen just smiled. "Well, that's what was reported. The fine now stands at $500 with the late fee." I walked out shaking. Within days, more letters showed up, warnings taped to my garage notices about towing. I'd catch Linda snapping photos from the sidewalk. At the next HOA meeting, Karen stood up in front of everyone and said, "Some residents believe the rules don't apply to them." She didn't name me, but she didn't have to. Every eye turned my way. My ears burned while people whispered. I wanted to yell, but what good would it do? This was her courtroom. She made the rules. Back home that night, I looked out at the lake shimmering under the moonlight. That was my piece of peace, and she was trying to take it. I swore I wouldn't let her. I started digging. My workshop smelled like solder and sawdust as I spread out every page of the HOA's covenants. 100 pages of mind-numbing lawyer talk. For 3 nights, I read every word. Then buried in an appendix, I found the line that changed everything. The association's jurisdiction extends to all common areas ending at the high water mark of the lake. I read it twice, then a 3rd time. That meant the HOA had 0 authority over the lake or the docks. They'd been bluffing for years. I showed it to my neighbors George next door, old Bill across the street, but most just shook their heads. "Karen holds grudges," George said quietly. "Just pay it and move on." Everyone was scared of her. Fear had become the currency of the neighborhood. Then Karen announced something new, her masterstroke. An email titled Lakeside Fishing Club. Exclusive access to the lake for HOA members in good standing. Annual dues, $200 initiation fee, $500. Members-only gate installation this month. I stared at the screen in disbelief. She was literally monetizing a lie. I wasn't just banned anymore, I was exiled. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with the HOA maps, the deeds, and one insane idea: if they didn't own the lake, maybe someone else did. And maybe that someone was willing to sell. I drove to the county records building, that gray concrete box that smells like dust and coffee. I searched through decades of land deeds. It took 2 days, but I found it. The lake and a 50-foot buffer around it were owned by the Blackwood Water and Land Trust, A forgotten estate managed by some bank that probably didn't even remember it existed. A ghost asset. I felt my pulse quicken. Martha looked terrified when I explained. "You're not serious," she whispered. "We can't buy a lake, Jack. We have Lily's college fund our retirement." I reached across the table. "That lake is where I scattered Sarah's ashes. I won't let Karen turn it into her private country club." I called an old friend, Tom Reynolds Sarge, from my Army days. He listened to my story, grinned, and said, "So, you're going to buy the pond and dethrone the queen bee I'm in. Consider it a business loan veteran to veteran. Make her pay for every inch." While the lawyers drafted the offer, Karen's smear campaign exploded. Anonymous posts accused me of polluting the lake, of being broke, of planning lawsuits. The final straw came when Lily ran home from the docks crying. Karen's daughter and her little club of mini Karens had called her a trespasser, knocked her tackle box into the water, and told her, "Your dad's a deadbeat." Seeing my little girl crushed like that broke something in me. That night, I almost quit. I sat in my workshop staring at the unsigned contract to buy the lake. Maybe Martha was right. Maybe I was dragging my family down because I couldn't swallow my pride. Then Bill knocked on the door holding 2 beers. He sat down and said, "People like Karen don't stop, Jack. They feed on fear. Every time we let them win, their fence gets higher and our world gets smaller. You're the only one trying to tear that fence down." Then he left quiet as he came. I sat there for a long time, then picked up the pen. The scratching of ink on paper sounded like a gun being cocked. I signed. 2 weeks later, at the next HOA meeting, Karen strutted in like a queen. She announced new landscaping rules, bragged about the success of her fishing club, and finally called my name. Mr. Miller continues to violate community standards. His boat will be impounded within 72 hours. I stood up calm as a lake before a storm. "Thank you, Karen," I said. "I just have a few questions." I walked to the whiteboard and drew a simple map: the houses, the shoreline, the lake. "Can you show me where in the bylaws it says the HOA controls private property on the water?" She scoffed. "The board has broad powers. The community voted to grant the fishing club management rights." I nodded. "A lease then. For the docks, the boat ramp." She hesitated, just a flicker. I turned to the board, unrolled a certified plat map, and tacked it up. "Funny thing," I said, tracing a red line, "the HOA's jurisdiction stops right here at the high water mark. You've never had authority beyond that." The room fell silent. Karen's lips tightened. "And one more thing," I said, pulling another paper from my folder. "This is a cease and desist letter the HOA received 3 years ago from the Blackwood Trust telling you to stop trespassing on their property. Ring any bells?" Her face drained of color. "That's outdated, irrelevant," she stammered. "Oh, I agree, it's outdated," I said softly, "because the trust doesn't own the lake anymore." I held up the last document, the county seal glinting under the fluorescent lights. "As of Tuesday afternoon, I do. The lake, the docks, the ramp, all of it." The room erupted gasps, whispers, applause building like a wave. Karen just stood there, frozen. "Your fishing club's lease is void," I continued. "The gate comes down tomorrow. The lake is free for everyone again. No fees, no memberships, no queens." Bill started clapping. Others followed. By the time I walked back to my seat, the entire room was cheering. But Karen wasn't finished. She never accepted defeat. The next morning, Sarge came over with a bolt cutter and a grinder. We cut down that members-only gate sparks, flying the metal screaming. Neighbors came out to watch. Some joined in. Kids ran to the water laughing. For the first time in months, the air felt light. Then, days later, I smelled gasoline. A dark slick shimmered across the lake fish floating belly up near the shore. My stomach dropped. I knew who did it, but I needed proof. Luckily, when I bought the lake, I'd installed trail cameras' motion-activated night vision hidden in the trees. That night, I scrolled through the footage. There she was, Karen. 2 red gas cans in her hands, pouring them straight into the lake. The next morning, I took the footage to the sheriff myself. The deputy watched it, his jaw tightening. "We'll pay Mrs. Whitman a visit." But Karen made one last desperate move. Minutes later, dispatch called me. "Sir, we received a 911 report of you threatening a woman with a weapon." I froze. A false report she was trying to swat me. I explained everything, the ongoing harassment, the video. When the officers arrived, they were cautious but polite. Then one of them got a call over the radio. "Suspect in custody," he said. Karen had been arrested at her home gas cans still in her garage. After that, the dam finally broke. The truth spread fast. The HOA board held an emergency meeting this time without Karen. One by one, her allies resigned. Bill was voted interim president. Their first act to void every fine Karen had ever issued and issue a public apology to my family. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. I just walked down to the lake that night. The water was still reflecting the moon. For months, that lake had been a battlefield. Now it was quiet again. I crouched by the shore, let the cold water run through my fingers, and whispered, "Welcome home." No one should have to fight this hard for peace on their own property. But sometimes, when bullies build fences around your life, the only way to break free is to buy the whole damn field.